Conduct a public hearing to consider testimony regarding proposed assessments to be levied against assessable property within the Iron Horse Public Improvement District pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Government Code. The property is approximately 58.213 acres of land generally located north of Rodeo Drive, south of Sain Road, also known as State Highway 352, east of Stadium Drive and west of Rodeo Center Boulevard, within the corporate limits of the City of Mesquite.
Mr. Chen?
Yes, Mayor. At the last council meeting, the City Council passed a resolution to accept the preliminary service and assessment plan. The bond sale or pricing, as you'll hear later from our financial advisor, has taken place, and the service and assessment plan has since been updated to reflect actual bond pricing information related to principal and interest and such. This public hearing, however, is required, it's mandated by state law, to give an opportunity for any property owners within that PID boundary to object or give written or oral testimony to the assessments.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Chen on this item? This time I'd like to open up the public hearing on item 20. Anyone wishing to speak on item 20, please come forward. All right, thank you very much. Seeing no one, we'll move on to item 21.
An ordinance approving a service and assessment plan and assessment roll for authorized improvements for the Iron Horse Public Improvement District, making a finding of special benefit to certain property in the district, levying assessments against certain property within the district, and establishing a lien on such property, providing for payment of the assessment in accordance with Chapter 372 Texas Local Government Code as amended, providing for the method of assessment and the payment of the assessments, providing penalties and interest on delinquent assessments, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Comments, questions, motion?
Move to approve number 21.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Alderman, seconded by Councilman Archer. Any other comments or questions?
I notice a trend, Mayor.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. I got to look at this thing. Please cast your vote. I got to look at this thing faster. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilman Miklos abstaining. Item 22.
An ordinance approving and authorizing the issuance and sale of the City of Mesquite Special Assessment Revenue Bond, Series 2019, Iron Horse Public Improvement District Project, approving and authorizing an indenture of trust, a bond purchase agreement, limited offering memoranda, continuing disclosure agreement, and other agreements and documents in connection therewith, making findings with respect to the issuance of such bonds and providing an effective date.
ACM Ted Chen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's try to break it up a little bit. Sorry.
Similar to our traditional debt, we do have our financial advisor here with us, Mr. Jason Hughes with Hilltop Securities. He'll go over the pricing that we had today of these bonds, but I do want to stress that unlike those traditional GO bonds that the city issues every year, the city will not be responsible for the payment of the bond principal or interest. This is assessed on the property owners, and it does not constitute a debt of the city or any legal or moral obligation to repay the bonds from any source other than the pledged revenues through the assessments and the reduction in TERS. With that, I'll turn it over to Jason Hughes.
Mr. Hughes. Name and address, please.
Jason Hughes, 1201 Elm, Dallas, Texas.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, good to be with you tonight. To Ted's point, as you can see, you have a one-page summary that's been passed out. Again, just to reemphasize, the only security that you have on these bonds that are up for your consideration are the special assessments within the Iron Horse Public Improvement District. So as you can see there, what I have is, again, just a short summary. FMS Bonds, who is the underwriter, went out on Friday, and they provided pre-pricing marketing levels. The nice thing about that is what we had been assuming up to this point is a conservative 6.5% interest rate, where we actually came back and got a final interest rate of 6.14%. So as you can see there, just to quickly go through the bond term, these are 30-year bonds, again at a 6.14% rate. we actually were able, based on the better than expected interest rates, we were able to downsize the par amount of bonds from $10.2 million to $10,050,000. So as you can see there in row 9, the net bond proceeds, we actually increased that, so decreased the par amount, increased the bond proceeds. And then there's just an overview as far as the cost, the total, and then one of the things, the appraisal, which as we talked about going back probably a couple of years ago. That's one of the ways that we constrain the amount of debt that we're looking to issue, and the target that we've had, at least on Iron Horse, was 3-to-1. So as you can see there, upon issuance of the debt, we're above that 3-to-1 value to lien ratio. So as far as the tax rate analysis, this was all done this morning whenever I had the final rates, and then what I do is I take the final debt service, I hand that off to the SAP consultant, Mary Petty with P3 Works, who is also here, and then she comes up with the final rates. So these are projected, as you can see there on the actual, and I'm on row 15, projected tax rate equivalent of about 72.5 cents. It's actually below 72 cents, so that's good. And then I'll just skip down to the estimated total tax rate. 3.085 is what I'd estimated, and what Mary has is just under 3.08. So the nice thing is, in summary, is we beat all of our projections that we had, again, based on the better than expected pricing. So with that, Julie Partain from Bracewell, City's Bond Counsel is here. Robert Rivera is also here with FMS Bonds. And then again, Mary Petty with P3 Works is here. So if you have any questions, we've got it covered. So I'd be happy to answer anything you may have.
Any questions, council? The one thing with your team that I've kind of asked about, and I don't know that it really matters, but I'm just curious because I don't live in the world that you guys live in. These PIV bonds are tied to, they're sold, and then they're paid back on these assessments. So really the value of the house, the property, all those things really don't impact this portion. In other words, if we were to start building and then go into a minor recession where values were to drop 5 or 10%, it really doesn't affect this rating here or these bonds because they're actually paid by assessment and they're assessed when the house is purchased. Is that?
That's right. So you have a fixed assessment, and the way that we structure that, and it's not shown here, but our debt service is basically level throughout. And so the whole idea, Mayor, whether you have a $100 lot or a $100,000 home, you're paying the same assessment. So you are not subject to those fluctuations.
Thank you. I was questioning if there was any impact. Any other questions other than mine? Okay.
Thank you
very much. So that's item 22. Council, do we have any other comments or motion?
Motion approved. Second.
No, this is an ordinance. We're on 22. So we have a motion made by Mr. Casper and seconded by Councilman Burrows. Any other comments or questions? If not, please cast your vote. And that passes 6-0 with Councilman Miklos abstaining. We're on item 23.
Conduct a public hearing and consider a resolution approving the terms and conditions of a program, Chapter 380 agreement, to promote local economic development and stimulate business and commercial activity in the city, and authorizing the city manager to finalize and execute an agreement for such purposes with Mesquite 50 LLC, a Texas limited liability company, providing a grant to reimburse the developer for certain costs and expenses incurred by the developer in connection with the design and reconstruction of a portion of Peachtree Road located within Mesquite Rodeo City Reinvestment Zone Number 1, City of Mesquite, Texas, as part of a mixed-use development containing retail, restaurant, office, residential components, and other associated uses, in accordance with City Ordinance Number 4595, the Iron Horse Project, in the City of Mesquite, Texas, and authorizing the city manager to administer the agreement on behalf of the city.
Mr. Chen?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council. This proposed 380 agreement is basically lays out the specifications and terms for executing a reimbursement of impact fees for the developer to widen a portion of Peachtree Road and to relocate an existing traffic signal mast arm there at Peachtree and Sinene. And a public hearing is required.
And so this is just the Peachtree portion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Chen? All right. This time I'd like to open up the public hearing on item 23. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one, I believe we move on to item 24. I did not see an... Oh, consider resolution. Thank you. I need to highlight that stuff. Do we have a motion on the resolution on item 23?
Are we
No.
separating 23 and 24?
Yes. 24 is a separate thing. This is only Peachtree.
Yeah, there are two
Okay.
380 agreements for council tonight. This is on Peachtree Road, the second will be on the city tract.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Peachtree Road agreement with the caveat that we include a date by which construction should begin and a date by which construction should be concluded. I'm going to leave it to staff to figure that out and work out those dates with the developer, but I would like those dates to be included in that agreement.
So we have a motion. Yes, sir. Mr. Pascal.
We can do that. I think it's implied in Mr. Noche's motion, but of course, the city manager has the authority to negotiate those terms.
That is correct.
Thank you.
So your motion is for the city manager to negotiate on the 380?
You betcha.
All right, just making sure.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second by Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Any other comments or, except for one? No? Okay. Please cast your vote. All right, I'm just checking. Please cast your vote. Item 23. And that item passes 6-0 with Councilman Miklos abstaining.